When we go out into the world, we are not just judged on the quality of our academic knowledge and skills, but also on the quality of our work and on the quality of our character. So these together, the mastery of skills, the high quality work and the character development, these together are the three principles that override teaching and learning in our school. हम एक क्लासरूम में हैं, हमें एक ही टेक्स्ट बुक मिलती है. Our teacher teaches us the same lesson and we all are exposed to the same curriculum. And if there is a child there who doesn't understand or who understands a lot more, it doesn't show up. When you have a one-size-fits-all standardized kind of a curriculum, so all those different varying abilities and all those different varying strengths kind of get lost. Pakistan right now does not have the systems to cater to a lot of different kinds of learners, and that is one of the emerging trends in education as well. What is right now a very hot topic in education is personalization, and that is where this all leads up to. We are a personalized learning school, we are a differentiated school, and that means that there are varying levels of abilities in the classroom that we're catering to as per their level, which means that we meet every student where they are. A child spends 8 hours in school, but the rest of the time they're with their parents. What are the things they gravitate towards naturally? What are the reading habits that they have? Do they like to skate a lot? Do they play music? These are things that usually don't come up in a classroom, but they do come up when you talk to parents about their child, because parents love talking about their children and they give us a lot of insight into what works and what doesn't work. So based off of that knowledge, and then based off of what we understand of the child in the classroom, we build interest inventories. We have parent interviews, we have teacher interviews, we have student interviews. As a result, we compile this data where we understand what this child is good at, what are their strengths, and what are their goals, what do we want them to meet. Project-based learning is again a global trend. It is an entire step-by-step process where you start from conceptualizing the process, then designing it, then creating it, and then presenting it. So if you come into our school, you will see like half-done projects. They're like in their phases of work, and they're all being done by the students themselves, collaboratively. And a lot of them are projects that the children designed and that the children came up with. And that element of voice and choice, we call it, is very important for us as a school to give our students. Because in the Pakistani system, children hardly ever have a choice or are hardly ever given a voice. And we realized that if you do that, if you let a child decide, that child can come up with the most amazing ideas, but you have to give them an opportunity, you have to give them a chance, right? Assessment is a very key part of our school, and it's not in the sense that we call tests or exams. It's more like formative assessment that is happening on a daily basis, where you're gauging where the children are at and tailoring your instruction to meet their needs in the next lesson. This happens in each class, this happens in each lesson at Ivy. Then there's a different kind of assessments that we have 3 times a year. They are called our benchmark assessments. And they happen at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and at the end of the year. And their purpose is to gauge where the students are at and if we need to work towards any specific targets. Based on that data, we then make groups in the classroom, and then the children are given instruction that is tailored to their groups. What is important is that schools become also data driven, because when you are data driven, you end up proving or providing really good quality instruction. And even in our personalized learning, which is a little different from the differentiated whole group learning that we're doing, even in the personalized learning that we do, the children are given a playlist based on their interest inventories. So if there is a child, let's say, who is into airplanes, so we will give him fraction sums that are related to airplanes. So we're also working on what he needs to work on, but we're also including his interest inventory in that. And that again is a function of data. If we don't have the data, we can't really do that. So we need to have the data about where he's at and what areas we need to work on academically, and we also need to have his interest inventories to know how to motivate him to learn. When I graduated from IBA, I worked in the finance sector for about like 5+ years. In one of my jobs that I was at, I remember that I had a performance evaluation where my boss told me that, you seem intelligent, but you don't seem very motivated to be here. So, what do you think could be the reason? And I remember I felt very hurt when he said that. I felt very bad because at that point in time, it was a very honest thing to say. In retrospect, I think it was a very good thing to say because it really made me consider my choices. And I left that job for a lower paying job in the social sector, in the low income education sector, working for an exchange project between Pakistan and India. It was basically a letter exchange project between students of Pakistan and students of India. And something that really stood out to me in that project was that when the children were writing to each other, the kind of writing skills in the low income education sector from students who were 16 or 17 between Pakistan and India, there was a very glaring difference. And it really got me thinking, because I was thinking that why can't these kids write as well? And that's when I started thinking about literacy in low income, and kind of my focus shifted a little bit towards more technical sides of education. After doing that project, I remember I was doing a diploma in reading difficulties, in learning about how children who suffer from, let's say, dyslexia or other learning challenges, how do we teach them to read? Side by side, started working in the low income education sector of my own of my own accord. I just kind of volunteered in the low income education sector while I was doing my diploma. And what happened was that, the strategies that you use to teach children to read, children who are dyslexic, I started automatically transferring that knowledge into the sectors and the classrooms that I was working in. And that knowledge transfer ended up being really useful because my students, who were ranging from all age groups from grade 1 to grade 10, they started reading in 4 months. And I was stunned because I had not imagined that 3 times a week मैं जा रही हूँ और उनको मैं phonics पढ़ा रही हूँ और 4 महीने बाद वही बच्चे हैं जो मुझे pages पढ़ के सुना रहे हैं. It was quite like a feeling of victory, and I felt, wow, okay, so somebody can teach these kids to read in 4 months if they use the right strategy. After that, it was really a question of when. I just applied for a degree in language and literacy. I went to Harvard, I got my degree, and I came back and I was really all set I had the right arsenal of tools to start a school. I think working in the low income sector is very rewarding. You see the gains of it immediately. You see that there are children who just don't have the right teacher, very intelligent, very curious, amazing children, and all they really need is somebody to come and teach them. Being an educator is in itself something that is very rewarding. Being somebody who is in charge of someone's life that way, you could be that person who changed somebody's life. You could be that teacher who became the inspiration for a child. You could be that one person who championed them when they were having a really difficult time in life. I feel like that in itself is very rewarding. One thing that is really, really important is teacher training. And I think it starts from the low income, that what's happening is that the teachers in the low income are products of the same system. So what they're teaching, the quality of their instruction, it's like it's a vicious cycle, right? Having good systems or centers for training people, training teachers, having master trainers who then train teachers or trainers. Having those kinds of systems will really help the overall quality, I think, to go up. Now when we look at let's look at middle income or high income schools out there, right? So for them, their systems need to move more towards, I feel, towards global best practices. मैं आपको एक simple सा example देती हूँ. When I was little and मेरा गला ख़राब होता था, I would go to the hakim that was close by and he would give me this little pudiya of newspaper which had a lot of medicines in it and a little liquid that I was supposed to have. And I remember that each time I would go to him, he would give me the same thing. Now if you go to healthcare professionals, they ask you, are you diabetic? Do you have any heart problems? Do you have any history of diseases? And then they give me something that is structured or that is suited to my system. So I think what I'm trying to say is that there is a way that there's industries are moving from a more standardized kind of a system to a more personalized kind of a system. So education needs to as a whole move towards personalized learning, because what we're doing is that we are still, as educators, we are still that hakim who is giving the same medicine to everybody. We need to start becoming the healthcare professionals who are asking what the child needs and giving them that, building on the skills that we need to build, involving them in the process of their own learning, so that when they go out into the workforce, when they go out into the economy, they are self-assured individuals who know what their strengths are, who know what their skill sets are, and then they can contribute to the best of their ability. बहुत मुश्किल सवाल है आपका. It's a tough one. You know, if you ask me, I am somebody who is in education. I will always tell you education. So I always connect anything that is, I feel, not right in the society or any societal ills to education. Our lens has to change. The way we approach education has to change. There has to be a lot more ethics and character development built into the system from early on, from primary level. आप ethics और character development इतना strong कर दें कि यही वो लोग हैं who will go out and become the change makers in your country later on. And it may sound very cliched, but at the end of the day, if this is what we consistently do, if this is what we work towards, I know that automatically आपका पाकिस्तान साफ हो जाएगा.